How many have you forgiven today? Chapter 26. First to Leap. Twilight lets out a long sigh as she follows behind Spike as they walk around Canterlots. Her mind was thinking about all that she's done and what her plans were when she came back to Canterlots. Before, it was also clear to her. All she needed to do was gain Anon's forgiveness. In her mind, it was like a magic problem that could be solved. That with the right words and actions, she could get Anon to realize how sorry she was. Yet, these new feelings have enlightened her. This is a road she must travel down, and perhaps at the end, she will find an answer. She worries if she can carry a weight like this for long. Anon has been doing it for over a year, and it must have been hard for him. To keep walking the streets of Ponyville, acting as if nothing was wrong, all for the sake of his friends. He's strong, and yet Twilight knows how weak he must feel. To live with this burden day by day. It's just one of the many things he must carry. Twilight doesn't want to think about the things her friends did, but it's a thought worth keeping in mind. He must be in so much pain. For once, Twilight feels as if she understands Anon. And it's painful to wonder if on the inside he's in agony, looking for some way to lift all the burden on his shoulders. "Where was the place again?" Spike asks. Twilight snaps out of her darker thoughts as she notices Spike looking her way.
"I think it's a few stores down,"
Twilight remarks. "Nice," Spike says with excitement. Twilight takes a deep breath in and slowly lets it out. She just stepped off onto this road. She still has a long way to go. Anon is sitting beside Celestia as she talks to various ponies. His thoughts are currently thinking about other things at the moment. His luck is finally running out, and it's been a long time coming. This entire Twilight thing can't be ignored now. Now that he's back in the castle, he will be seeing her more often. Breakfast, lunch, and even dinner. She may even show up at the royal bathhouse for all he knows. He's being pushed into a corner with very few options to take. Leaving is out of the question. Before he became friends with the sisters, it would have been an easy choice. Now, the thought of leaving them, of being alone, fills him with a pain he's never felt before. Anon looks over at Celestia as she smiles to her subject, her princess mask hiding the tired expression she feels. It's odd how easily Anon can see this now. Then a thought comes to mind. Could he be the reason she's so tired? Anon turns away from her as he peers off into the distance. The thought is disturbing, but in many ways makes sense. The fact of the matter is, he's never once asked her how she felt about the entire Twilight situation. While it's true that he didn't ask her to punish Twilight, he never did talk to her about how she felt during the trial. Celestia has been watching over Twilight for more years than Anon has known her. He remembers Celestia telling him how she hoped Twilight would drop the whole princess thing. Clearly, they are close. Close enough that Celestia wanted to become friends with Twilight, to no longer be teacher and student. So what did she feel during that punishment? How does she feel now? It must have hurt her deeply, and Anon is the cause of that pain. Anon grits his teeth. He told them that he'd try to be a better friend, but he's failed again. His fear of Twilight has become toxic to his thoughts. The constant questions, worries, and what-ifs. Even when Celestia told him she was bringing Twilight to the castle, he couldn't understand it. He felt betrayed in a way, even though deep down he knew Celestia was doing it for the right reasons. Because of his fears, he didn't care what Celestia thought. All he knew was that he couldn't be around Twilight, that he would be hurt eventually if she was around. Celestia accepted this and put herself through stress for his sake. Anon is angry at himself. He never wanted to hurt Celestia, and yet now it's abundantly clear to him that he has. Even if she doesn't admit it, he knows he has. Anon looks up to see the pony that was speaking to Celestia walk out. Celestia looks over at Anon and gives him a genuine smile, not like the kind she gives her subjects. He doesn't deserve her kindness or friendship. Not with what he's done.
Anon?
Celestia notices that something is bothering Anon.
Are you doing alright?
This can't go on forever. It hurts so much inside for Anon, far more than his fear of Twilight. He rests his hand on Celestia's hoof, more to calm himself than anything else. Celestia would be ecstatic about something like this happening, but can sense that something is troubling Anon deeply. Tia, I have something important I want to ask you.
I'm listening.
Anon takes a moment to steady his thoughts as he decides to get this over with. Do you want me to forgive Twilight? Silence. That's all Anon hears. It feels as if time has slowed, but no matter how much time has passed, Celestia doesn't say a word. So he decides to lay it out on the table for her. I never did ask you how you felt during that trial, Anon states. You've known Twilight for years, and I never thought about how that affected you. I was afraid, and because of that fear, I've hurt you. I don't know what to do, but this is all I can offer. Anon locks eyes with Celestia. Just for you, Tia. If you ask me, I will forgive Twilight. Anon sits there, eyes locked with Celestia. She looks shocked as she sits there in silence. There's nothing else for Anon to say, so he sits there and waits. For Celestia, everything sinks in for her. Her shock falls to a smile as she closes her eyes. Anon is always carrying so many worries. Even now, he can only think about how his choices have affected her. Perhaps that's why she loves him so much. She does the only thing that comes natural for her. She leans over and pulls Anon to her chest, wrapping her wings around him.
It must be tiring to burden yourself so much.
Celestia speaks softly. I'm sure we both know the feeling, Anon states.
I do. It almost becomes routine after a while. Just another thing to add to the list.
Celestia looks down at Anon as he looks up at her.
Though recently, you've helped lift some of that weight.
Anon looks a bit confused, but Celestia continues.
I know it's hard for oneself to see their own accomplishments, but you've done many things to help me and my sister. Even if you can't see it, just having you by my side, it's enough to ease my pain.
But what about... Celestia rests a wingtip on his lips.
I would never ask you to forgive Twilight if it wasn't your choice.
Celestia lets out a bit of a sad sigh.
I will admit, some of the things you said is true. It hurt me deeply to punish Twilight.
Anon tries to look away, but she brings him back to facing her.
Because I failed her as a teacher, and in turn, that failure hurt you.
But I don't blame you for that, Anon says. There was no way you could have known something like that would have happened. Celestia can only smile at his words as she nuzzles him.
You are right, but she is my student, and I have neglected things to help her grow as a pony. Because of this, I find the need to teach her, to help her understand. Perhaps one day you will forgive her, but I wouldn't want it to be something you force.
She stops nuzzling him and rests a hoof on his chest.
It must come from here and nowhere else.
Anon can't look away from Celestia's eyes. Why does he feel so much love and understanding when he looks at her? It's almost as if he can do no wrong and that everything he says has so much meaning to her. He doesn't deserve a friend like her, yet to not have her would be far too painful for him to imagine. So, with a long sigh of defeat, he simply accepts what is happening. I don't know what to say, Anon admits.
Don't worry. Nothing else needs to be said.
Anon may not have the words to say, but he decides to just hold on to her tightly. Where words fail him, he could only hope she understands how much he appreciates her. Luna took notice of her captain's mood last night and decided now was as good a time as any and pay her a visit to make sure she is doing alright. It has been a while since Luna stepped hoof into the barracks. As soon as she does, all of the knights within take immediate notice of who is standing there. Many of them quickly stop what they're doing so that they can salute their princess. It's sad for her to admit that she doesn't recognize many faces here. Thestrals are very rare, and few are within her ranks. Taking a look around, she notices varying ponies and even races. It seems Blossom has expanded the knights. It's comforting for Luna to see that Blossom has been hard at work for all these years.
At ease.
Luna speaks to everyone facing her. Without another word, they relax. Luna came here for a reason, so she walks over to her captain's door and enters inside. She finds Blossom behind a large stack of papers. Her ears perk up, but she never looks away from her work.
Morning, Princess. Any reason you've decided to stop by?
She asks, moving her signed paper to one stack and getting a fresh one from another.
Just a few things that concern me.
Luna closes the door behind her. Conversations with Luna and Blossom tend to go in a very interesting direction, so I can't wait to see what happens next. Anywho, let's move on to our flattering donators. Top donators are 630, BadassWaffle, Only One Thing, Ceru, Orion, and IronSky. Darkside, Rayden, Narwhals, Black Moon, Heart Pastel Skies, Austin Rollins, 2 Hex, Sword Wither, Orchard, Omicron, Lyra, Runescythe 9052, Will, Chris, Twinkie, Ride, Soul Shadow, Moon, Luigi 88, Chancer Quest, Big Smoke 369, Jesse Smith, Bobcat JJF, and many more awesome people. Thank you all so much for watching this video and live life to the fullest.